I'm live. I'm just going to wait a bit while it all sets up and the stream starts. Just going to make sure all the tech bits, sound is working. Last time I did this, I did it on, I tried to mash up Borrel, which I think is called something else. It's a kind of virtual reality app type thing. And stream starts. Oh gosh, it's working. Sorry. And there are people watching. I think. Is working. Let me just reduce that. Sorry, I was just checking that it works on my phone. If you are watching this, say hi in the chat, because it would be good to know that I'm not talking to myself, even though I'm actually eating my lunch at the same time. It's one of those busy days. I'm just doing, not actually doing, me doing lots. Well, I've just got this thing. Oh, I'm going to try different things. Oh, yeah, that looks terrible. And the reason I'm doing this is because we had Ideas Café today. Oh, Ray, brilliant. Great to see you, Ray. Thank you very much for saying hi. So today is one of those Zoom days. So this morning, hi Jenny, Ideas Cafe, then a chat with Ben Johnson, because we're doing a webinar. Well, we're doing a course at the moment, a happy pricing course, which is actually going well. I really want to do a LinkedIn live on that, because I'm trying loads of new stuff. Ben's got so much great knowledge about pricing, but also the tools that we're using that I'm learning from actually Lena Morkbach, doing this really great course. Savvy Facilitator. She's doing a course around how to basically do better facilitating using all the different tools. I have been learning so much from her. Really great work. Hi, Stuart. Where was I on that? Yeah, so doing that pricing course, learning lots and doing that with Ben. So there's another conversation with him. Then I've got a friend in Scotland, old school friend. I needed a break, so we played Fortnite together for 30 minutes. I just feels like this is my guilty pleasure at the moment. It's like not Netflix, it's playing Fortnite. 47-year-old man playing Fortnite with his old school friend. Just so much fun, as long as you keep it specific. 30 minutes only. Any longer, then your day is lost. Going to be hooking up with Ray, who's on the call for our buddy group on our 2020 Vision program at 3:15, which is great. And then the pricing course, we have an hour pricing course session at 5. And then at 6, I'm going to be jumping on to the Holstey group reflection. Well, they do a kind of a monthly group meeting with Holstey. Loving that. It's really nice to be on the other end, just attending someone else's online event where they create a space for really interesting conversations and meeting like-minded people. I've actually enjoyed doing that. Why am I saying all this? Is like lots of video today, lots of Zoom today. Oh, hi, Stephen. But I wanted to do this video because I wanted to share a few things that I learned today from our Ideas Café. So just another time online, but it's fun. I'm trying not to cram too much stuff in to this little talk, this LinkedIn Live. So there's 3 things I wanted to just share. It was something around marketing without using social media, which hey Mark, marketing without social media, which was really interesting. So this is something that someone said on Ideas Cafe that I really found quite fascinating. Then what was the other thing I was going to talk about? Yeah, there's something around pricing. So we had a little conversation around pricing that I wanted to share. And then the final thing, what was the other thing? God, what did I say? Yeah, I think it was around sort of like maintaining ongoing relationships with your customers. So to start off with, marketing without social media, and where it came from was someone saying they're finding social media, being on social media, the platforms there, super toxic. It just felt depressing being on, I assume, Twitter, and maybe Facebook. I don't know. I'm thinking it's more Twitter than anything else. I'd love to hear anyone who's watching this who who finds social media depressing, is it all social media, or is it a specific platform that you go onto that you think is just like a stream of negativity and toxicity? Or maybe it isn't, and it's just a personal experience, and we're all in our different filter bubbles, and somehow we get caught up in the wrong streams of messages. So the question is, do you find social media depressing and toxic? And if so, which channel? Is it all, or is it a couple? So like Twitter and LinkedIn. I don't quite, personally, I think LinkedIn's fine, but maybe as I don't use it enough. Or is it Facebook and Twitter? Or is it just Facebook? Or is it Twitter? Or is it, whatever it is? I'd love to know if you find that feeling of like, oh, it's just icky and it just gets me down being on social media. Please post a message in the chat to let me know where you, which channels you might be not liking, or in this case, maybe it's maybe you're happy with all the channels. Maybe they're all good. And like I think Jenny just said, I hope I didn't delete the message. She finds LinkedIn pretty positive, but that might be because she's in her happy little bubble. This is the thing about these platforms. They're based on algorithms that keep us in one place. But anyway, so that's kind of the premise of the foundation, or where this came from. Is like being on social media feels like just I don't want to spend time on there because it just feels not nice, and I get dragged down because of it. So if you're going to market, how do you market without using social media? So someone suggested actually what they've done is they wrote physical letters to all of their network, friends, past clients, sharing what they are doing right now and what they're offering, and asking if they need some help, or they could do with help based on this new piece of work they're doing or this new avenue, or if they knew anyone who'd be interested in that. And that got everyone thinking, that's different. So there's a real interesting, well, for me, it's like, on one hand, it's like, well, imagine writing 1,000 letters and then trying to make them personal. The first thing was they weren't necessarily personalized. Some of them she wrote like signed and maybe even addressed them manually, but most of it was kind of the same content, but it was actually just standing out, something different. And it just made me think, is like, okay, that's a good way of getting people's attention. It's something new, and particularly if you're going back to people or people who are in your network, and if, like this person said, I don't like going on social media because I find it depressing, then that was a way of actually connecting with people, or in a different way that I believe many of us have forgotten, because for whatever reason, so there are loads of reasons why sending out letters isn't the first thing that you do, but because of that, maybe it's something to consider. And maybe it's saying, and the way I understood this letter was structured is, hi, this is what I'm up to at the moment, this is where I'm at, this is how it's going, this is what I'm doing that's new, this is how it works, this is what I'm offering, can I help you in any way this way? And if not, do you know anyone who might be of interest, or who could help, or who I could help? So I really think that that's something to consider. I think even if it isn't like 1,000 letters, maybe it's someone even suggested just little postcards. Could you write a postcard to people and just say, to give them an update of what's going on, especially if it's like handwritten? That would be amazing. You might, and I've forgotten how to write. I type so much. I really have forgotten how to write, but that would be something different. But I think the principle there is like, how can you think out of the box in terms of getting in touch with people? Especially if you've got a close network already, there's people that you already know and you probably keep in touch with, maybe already by social media. But there's that extra layer, or a different way of connecting that would surprise and delight people who and make them kind of sit up and take notice. So it was just something I wanted to share about that. I think the follow on from that, though, the challenge is how do you keep the conversation going, or how do you keep connected, and how do you keep the relationship going? It would be amazing if we went back to writing each other's letters and that kind of correspondence via letter. But how much time do we have in the day to be able to do that, and also the speed at which we would like to have that conversation? It isn't always practical. So I think where our conversation at Ideas Cafe kind of went on to is like, at some point, if you're not going to connect with each other on LinkedIn and Facebook, you've got to have some way of connecting with each other. The simple thing was as a mailing list. That's pretty straightforward. I think all of us know how that works, but maybe that's a stepping stone. Write a nice letter, ask them if they're interested in this stuff. If they are, maybe email you. And if they're interested and they want to keep in touch, maybe ask them if you want to sign up to a mailing list. And then you can communicate later on with that mailing list. So rather than the pull or the essentially the first reach out to people, rather than that being some kind of anonymous tweet or Facebook post or LinkedIn post, why not send something out to people? Whether it's the CEO of a business that you used to work with, or Stephen, maybe lots of people who've been to your events before. You could send those postcards out. Yeah, you like the idea of postcards. Something positive about the postcard. You're right. Yeah, there's especially if it's you could say, yeah, me on the beach. There is something about postcards. We do the cheery postcard exercise on the Happy Startup School, and there's something of that. Relaxing, being on holiday, really enjoying where I am. So postcard or letter, and then some way of connecting with them on a more regular basis, whether it's a mailing list or a newsletter, or maybe one of the things that we use in terms of keeping people connected without having to use Facebook or Slack or Twitter or whatever. You use one of these platforms that you can have a closed community, and we use Mighty Networks, and that as a way of easily keeping in touch with people, but also creating a safe space, a little bubble where people know why they're there. They know what they've opted in. They've given you permission to connect in that way, and they go into that space understanding the kinds of things that they're going to be exposed to, and the kinds of conversations they're going to have. So that's the marketing without using social media. To the next bit of how do you maintain conversations? Is there a way of looking at how you build your own little niche community, and how you keep people in touch in an accessible and timely way? And it isn't on any of the traditional platforms. I know we use WhatsApp a lot. Some people don't like WhatsApp because it's still connected to Facebook. There's also Lana Yelenev, one of the people we work with. She started using Telegram. So maybe there's something there. You could use Telegram. The final thing I wanted to talk about was this idea. We talked about pricing and how do you price your services. And it was quite interesting to hear a couple of things that came up. Firstly, someone saying, I'm not comfortable charging people more than I am willing to pay for something. And that was really quite interesting, because I think if we're not willing to pay much for stuff, then we're not willing to sell our services, our products for very much either. So there's a real message there for me around actually buy expensive stuff if you want to sell expensive stuff, which is essentially find the value of what you do. To really find the value of what you do, you've got to really understand the value of the stuff that you're buying, because otherwise, if you're going to be trapped underneath that limit or that ceiling of how much you'd ever spend for something. So that was interesting. And then there was someone else who talked about, they were a developer. They've gone away from just selling their hours and their time, and they've gone to a more fixed price approach, where they say, okay, this is, well, you know what it means. Is it isn't based on how long it's going to take. It's based on, and it's quite clear. It's like, it costs this much, and this is what you're going to get. And so he's saying that makes customers feel a lot more comfortable, and they feel a lot more relaxed about engaging. And I agree with that. And I remember our agency days, we used to try and do that a lot. And it's fine if you really know exactly how you're going to do the work and how, essentially, you got real control over your costs. But at the same time, if you're doing something a bit more emergent or something that's a bit more creative and it's not quite clear, or there's opportunity for things to change and evolve, having that fixed price is a bit of a risk, I think, unless you're really you've got a real strong handhold of how you're going to do the work. And the other question I actually asked him is, how do you come up with that number? Because even if it is fixed price, what are you basing it on? Is it just time plus a little bit? And that's where, from what I've learned over this pricing course with Ben Johnson, it's like, actually, it isn't just based on cost and a little bit. There's so many other little bits of input that come into whether a price is acceptable, not only just for you, acceptable to you, but acceptable to a customer. Because, the phrase, something is reassuringly expensive, the word there is reassuringly. I want to pay more because I want to feel better about the thing I'm going to get. I'm kind of like, it's going to be good is a given. So I'm assuming that you're good at what you do. I'm going to get what I need. But on top of that, I want to spend more to make me feel like I'm getting premium. I know that kind of might be a bit challenging for people, but I believe there's something around understanding there's lots of different inputs into this idea of what price is. And I remember when we were running an agency, we only use a very simple mechanism while we were trying to be clever in terms of, okay, this is the hourly rate that we have for that we could that we can sort of quantify someone who works for us, a developer or a designer, and then we mark it up, and then we add the time together, and then that's the cost of the project. I think one of the challenges is that, as someone gets better, they can do work a lot quicker. So then actually that doesn't really help you with your pricing. But in the end as well, if you're building something like we were building like apps and initially websites, if it's really clear that this website or this app is going to create this much revenue, or there's a potential for creating this much revenue for a customer or client, then the value of your work is actually higher. And then also, if you've got a certain bit of expertise, or they trust you specifically because of a relationship you have, then again, that adds to the value, and that should influence how you price. And it isn't just about pricing more. It's about, I think, pricing well, pricing in a way that you get what you need in terms of compensation or reimbursement for the work that you're doing and the value you're providing. And the customer feels really, they don't have to be fully happy, but they really understand that this is a good deal, or in terms, this is a price that I'm willing to pay. Because even when they think it's a good deal, it's like, oh, this is like a bargain. I don't think they're winning, because they're devaluing, in a sense, the product they're buying anyway, because they think it's a bargain. There's an investment, I think. When you pay more, you are putting an investment yourself into this thing, because there's an outcome that you want to create, and that outcome is of such value that you want to spend more money to make that happen. And I sometimes think if you cut corners to try and get that bargain, then it doesn't mean, I don't think you really value the outcome you want to get as much. Anyway, that's a little sort of brain dump of what I learned today at Ideas Café. I'd be curious for the remaining 10 minutes, if you had any thoughts around what that means for pricing for you. Maybe you have a way of tackling how you price clients that really works, an approach, or there's something that really gets in your way. Around the marketing thing as well, maybe is the postcard thing something that you could use? And if you did, how would that work for you? I'd be curious to hear. I'm just going to look through the comments here. That's what we got. So I've got Ray here. So Ray says, I find Facebook depressing sometimes, as it is an edited form of reality. Actually, that's great. I saw a post today just about that, in which you only see the best bits of people with lots of trivial stuff. There is some I've read, actually. There's one of the platforms we used is called Teachable. We host some of our courses on there, and they released a blog post actually today around being more authentic on social media, and how people are looking. Well, basically, they don't necessarily trust the polished image that they see on social media, because there's so many people trying to be polished. And so one of the suggestions, or one of the invitations they have, is how can you be more authentic? How can you connect with people more? How can you share your failures and challenges and be more vulnerable, rather than just show, oh, I'm amazing? And another thing, and it's interesting, I was reflecting on that can also be a bit challenging, trying to be vulnerable. What does that mean? What do you have to say? How much do you share? But I think at a basic level, I think it's how can you talk in a way that doesn't feel like you're trying to present something, or make a presentation that has to have like a tick. Yay, that's great. You're not looking for the like. Maybe that's it. And what you're trying to do is speak in a way that connects with the right people, because you're not selling anymore. You're just trying to reach out and find out who's out there who kind of agrees or believes in what you believe, holds dear what you hold dear, is trying to achieve what you're trying to achieve, rather than coming across as this guru saying, I have all the answers, come to me and I'll share my secrets to success. And I think that's a long game for me. It isn't so much about selling anymore. The way I look at it, it's part of it, I think, is just understanding how is it that you want to connect with people. And social media, on one hand, it feels quite scary and dangerous and toxic, because of how people can come back at you quite easily behind the username and say quite mean things. So I can understand the challenge around that. But I do wonder if we're able to see that what they're saying isn't about you, it's about them. That on the flip side, the people who really connect with you and can see you and what you believe in, that's actually a service to those few people. Maybe there's 5 people out of those 7 billion out there that would really value hearing your words. And so sharing a blog post, a podcast, a LinkedIn Live, a Crowdcast, whatever platform you use, isn't any more selling. It's more about, if someone out there thinks like me and had that same issue as me, or just felt like they were alone, if they saw this, then it'd be like, I'm not the only one who thinks like this, and there's someone who's singing my song. I'm trying to think of that. Lauryn Hill song. Well, it wasn't Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill did the cover. But yeah, so thinking about that way, and that's maybe where some of the issue with social media is like people are always too eager to just talk as if they know the answer, rather than reaching out to connect with people who are trying to answer the same questions. Anyway, so that was my ramble. If you have any thoughts, I'd be really interested. Stephen, thank you. If LinkedIn most of the time is fine, I'm glad. But do I need to wish all my connections a happy birthday when prompted? I forget to wish happy birthday to my family sometimes if I've not prompted. Yeah, it's true. Killing me softly. Thank you, Stephen. Killing me softly with his words. That's the song I was trying to remember. Yeah, I think there is with these mechanisms around birthdays and new positions and anything else, they do feel like they are just tactics for these platforms for us to come back and remind us that they still exist, and these are simple ways to connect to other people. So on one hand, I think they are a bit annoying, but I've also realized that they can be helpful. It's like, okay, what do I do next? What am I supposed to do here on this weird platform where there's lots and lots of people talking about stuff and I don't know what to say? So yeah, there's guide rails or stabilizers for knowing what's at least at the beginning, what's the minimum that I can interact with people without totally switching off or getting sucked in 100% on these platforms. Okay, I think I'm done, unless I hear any comments or questions, which I don't think there are. But anyway, this was a little bit of also an experiment with Streamyard, which I understand you can now schedule LinkedIn Lives via Streamyard. So for those of you who haven't tried your own LinkedIn Lives, you can't broadcast directly through the LinkedIn app. You have to have a service that then streams your video, or basically takes your video and then pushes it to LinkedIn Live. I use Streamyard, and recently they've given you the ability to schedule a LinkedIn Live in advance, which then creates a post on your feed, which you can then copy the link to and share with people on other platforms, whether it's email, WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter. Because in the past, unless the post came up in a feed, you'd probably miss it. And so this is a way for you to actively remind people, even if they're not on LinkedIn, that you're talking. So I hope, if anything, that's of use to you. So cool. Well, thank you very much for listening. I enjoyed just getting that out of my head and trying to put some order around it. And yeah, I'm going to try this. I will try and see if I can do this again, maybe one time next week when I'm not so zoomed out and webinared out. Actually, if you're still on here, tomorrow, midday, Friday Fireside, kindness and leadership. Can you be a kind leader? Can you be a successful kind leader? That is the question. Think about that one. But if you want to find out, I think just search Friday Fireside Crowdcast Happy Startups, and what I'll do is I think I can post something in the feed. Well, I'll put it something somewhere. Anyway, you take care. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and Ray and Stephen, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.